Welcome everybody to the July wrap-up webinar. I hope you're all staying safe and well, and particularly those living in states that are in lockdown. Make sure to stay in contact with your friends and family. A simple call can make all the difference. And make sure to take care of yourself. Go on that walk, engage in self-care activities, or try something new. I know a lot of my friends are taking up knitting as well as experimenting with new food recipes. Find something new and enjoyable for yourself to try. Alrighty, so in July, we explored the concept of gaslighting. Our first blog, We Didn't Start the Fire, gave a nice overview of what is gaslighting, common gaslighting phrases, gaslighting techniques, and also major warning signs of the behavior being done. So to recap, gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse. It's where an individual will manipulate their targeted person into believing they're wrong, even when they're actually right. This, of course, causes them to doubt their own perception of reality. They may be convinced that their memories are wrong or even that their feelings are overreactions. This leads to them relying on their abuser to gain confirmation of the truth and whether their emotions are actually reasonable or not. This can occur in a number of relationships, such as couples, within families, or even within the workplace. For example, have you ever been telling a story only for someone to correct you on the small details, which makes you question your perception of reality and what you remember in the story? Has someone ever told you you're remembering that wrong? Or more subtly, responding to something you're passionate about with, calm down, you're overreacting. In blog 2, Burnt by the Flame, we then explored how to recognize these signs of gaslighting. So there are a number of gaslighting methods, but they all have one thing in common, that they all aim to alter the reality of the receiver and make that person doubt their memories and themselves. The most common example of gaslighting is when someone makes you doubt your own memories, to the point that you might even believe the gaslighter's fabricated version. They may say things such as, "I never said that, you have a terrible memory," or "I remember you agreed to do that." They simply lie. Gaslighters believe their own lies, and they create a fabricated version of the real story. In the end, this causes a whole lot of confusion and doubt for the victim. Adding to this confusion, a gaslighter might also even deflect blame onto the victim. They could accuse the person of bad memory or even deny that the event happened. "You're making it up. Why are you lying?" Again, this all adds to the victim's self-doubt. As I said before, they may say that you might be overreacting. Gaslighters can make you feel as though your normal reactions are unwarranted, especially regarding actions that they have done or said. They may say things such as, "You're too sensitive," "Please stop being so dramatic," or "You're just being paranoid." They are really targeting the victim's emotions and feelings to minimize the situation and focus the blame back on the victim. This is questioning the victim's right to be heard or to even be upset, and encourages them to question their perceptions of events again. With a denial of their feelings, they are then led to believe they don't have a right to feel the way they do. Although these scenarios may seem harmless or common, over time, these comments can cause you to doubt yourself and the legitimacy of your own thoughts and feelings. This really does detrimentally impact your mental health and the way you approach life, whether it be a partner, parent, friend, manager. Most individuals have encountered one or more of these phrases. If you've been told one of these things before, it's useful to be wary of it, as it may be an indication that someone is actually trying to gaslight you. Another thing gaslighters often try to do is they love to try and isolate the victim from their loved ones and make the victim question their loyalties and intentions. They say stuff such as, "Your friends are idiots. Did your mother say that? She's always making up things to make me look bad." They do this to ensure that you aren't second guessing the gaslighter's actions. I know this is quite harsh, isn't it? But to make things worse, gaslighters also commonly use the silent treatment as punishment and as a form of control. When you ask them, "What's wrong?" they act as if nothing has happened. "I'm not angry. What are you talking about?" They often try to shift the blame from themselves onto their victim, so they don't need to take accountability of this. "You should have known how I would react." They say stuff like that. These are all very manipulative techniques, and to make it harder for the victim to detect gaslighting, the gaslighter might praise the person in a way that reinforces their lies. This then makes the victim continue to question their reality, but also they start to sympathize with the abuser who has just praised them. This encourages the thinking that the abuser isn't a bad person. The abuser might say stuff such as, "I love you, I wouldn't lie to you." These are all actions gaslighters use to gain coercive control over their targeted individual. These techniques can be so subtle and gradual, where the gaslighter will use time to wear down their victim. So some of you might be thinking, why does someone gaslight when it negatively impacts another? There are actually a variety of reasons why someone might gaslight another person, with a major one being power. The power imbalance feeds into the gaslighter's own controlling behaviors. Gaslighting is commonly aligned with the personality disorder of narcissistic personality disorder. If you don't know what narcissism means, people with narcissism love to thrive on attention and can become easily envious. They have a belief that they're better than other people around them. They lack empathy and emotional capacity for other people's feelings. They love to exaggerate their own achievements. And lastly, they actually can't take on constructive criticism, but they are highly critical of others. So moving on, our third blog, Extinguishing the Flame, explored the consequences of gaslighting and how to stand up for yourself against it. So if you're a victim of gaslighting, and you might not be aware that you are one, there are actually some common consequences to be aware of. Some examples include feelings of confusion, worthlessness, and constantly second guessing yourself. It initially might just feel as though you're being forgetful, almost mistakable, just an innocent misremembering. You may remember hearing and seeing that person, but because the gaslighter is insisting with such conviction that it didn't happen, you are led to question your own reality. They must not have said it. I must have imagined it. These are things that you commonly start to think. Other consequences of gaslighting can be such as feelings of anxiousness and self-doubt is very common due to the direction of self-blame. You might start to have the inability to make simple decisions. This is again due to that feeling of self-doubt and having little self-confidence in yourself. You might frequently question whether you're too sensitive, and you start to feel very isolated. This is a big one due to the gaslighter wanting you to be isolated from your friends and family, so they can attain full control over yourself. Lastly, a major warning sign is that you have this need to apologize to the abusive person and to defend their behavior. This is because you don't trust your own self, you don't trust your own judgment, and you feel as though you're always in the wrong and the gaslighter is always in the right. So it's really important to understand gaslighting and how it presents itself, as it does negatively impact your mental health. If we all can be aware of gaslighting, we can recognize it in others, and we also can recognize it in ourselves. So how can you stand up for yourself? How can you extinguish the flame? Evidence. Evidence is a great way of identifying the signs of gaslighting. Writing things down, documenting conversations or events can really solidify your reality. This encourages self-assurance and increases your confidence within yourself and your experiences. So how can you do this? There are actually a number of ways where you can document evidence. First one is keeping a journal or a diary, taking pictures. Physical images are harder to deny and manipulate, and is a good method of reinforcing reality. You also may decide to confide in a trusted friend, family member, or a professional. They can keep note of events and conversations that could possibly be distorted in the future. If this third party can provide a source and another different perspective, it would be easier for the victim to trust another person's reinforcement of the situation. As I've said throughout this whole webinar, this form of manipulation is not easy to detect because it's such a subtle and gradual assertion of power that is increased over time. But through documentation and confiding in trusted individuals, the victim's self-assurance and power can be given back to them. And finally, our last blog post of the month, Fire Up Your Awareness, explores how to change your habits if you're gaslighting, and also how to recover from gaslighting if you're a victim of it. It can be even harder to identify if you're the gaslighter. as it can be inattentional or a subconscious assertion of power that you don't even know you possess and are conflicting on others. So I'll recap a few reactions that you can look out for in your own behavior. First one is the way you react to people's differing opinions. People are entitled to their own opinions and different perspectives. But if you find yourself compelled to counteract other people's thoughts and opinions, replacing or enforcing your own right opinions and encouraging them to disregard their incorrect ones, despite how this could make them feel, this is actually a form of gaslighting. Secondly, you like to lie about small things regularly. Everyone has been there. You forget about a coffee catch up with a friend or at a work event and tell a little white lie to cover it up just for this once. But where is the line meant to be drawn with lies? Well, usually gaslighters regularly lie, even for the smallest things that shouldn't require a lie. Thirdly, gaslighters typically downplay other people's emotions. If you find yourself downplaying other people's emotions, telling them to get over it, you're just wanting attention, or stop being so sensitive, it's not a big deal. Gaslighting is not only denying the person their own feelings, but goes one step further. It's convincing the person that they don't actually feel the way they do. This emotional manipulation reinforces the victim to doubt themselves and their emotions, questioning their confidence. But however, there actually are ways to change these behaviors. There are a few things that you can try. Firstly, accept that gaslighting is something you do. This can be very hard to admit, but you are taking steps to better yourself, and there's no shame in that. Secondly, stop making up excuses for your actions. Own them. Thirdly, fix what your actions may have broken. This could be such as personal or professional relationships, and this will of course take time and effort, constant effort to repair these relationships. We also need to identify a trigger. Try and find a pattern in your behavior. If you can, you will know when you are more likely to gaslight and can put steps in place to prevent this from happening. And lastly, there's always professional help available. This is a big thing to tackle on your own, so some extra support can always be helpful. Now, if you're a victim of gaslighting, recovering from it takes time and effort, but increasing one's self-confidence is a primary step to recovering from gaslighting. Some actions to consider include practicing mindfulness, maybe go have a listen to yourself and your needs, practice validation of your own emotions, and accept the way you feel. Knowing you have a right to feel how you want to feel. Re-establish that connection, and that is a significant step to recovery. Secondly, you could keep a journal. Keeping a journal to document your thoughts and feelings is another great way to validate your own thoughts. This allows you to connect to your subconscious. Thirdly, you could start to affirm your own feelings and opinions. If you find yourself turning to other people to validate your own thoughts or feelings, you can be further contributing to your own self-doubt and lack of confidence in your own decision-making and feelings. If you feel this urge to go to someone for validation, instead try to write it down and ponder it yourself, or even try and give yourself that validation you are seeking. I know this can be hard, but it's another great step towards recovery. Lastly, seek professional help. Recovering from manipulation and abuse is a difficult and taxing journey to undergo by yourself. Try turning to a professional for support. They can offer reaffirmation and help provide a perspective to help further separate your thoughts and feelings from those of the gaslighter. The recovery process from being a gaslighter or a victim is a difficult process to undertake. However, the first step to bettering yourself and healing is moving forward and finding ways to really improve your way of life for yourself and for people around you. So that wraps up the content for July on gaslighting. In August, we'll be focusing on identity, exploring who we are, learning to appreciate and celebrate every little part of ourselves. So look out for our new blogs and podcasts. They'll be coming out soon. And that's all for today. And I hope you guys all stay safe and well. Thank you.